What is going on, guys? DragonTamerBlayde here, and you know the deal. We're going to continue on with our full set review of Houses of Morrowind. Next up is Willpower. So first, we have Zero Cost card, another Zero Cost card. Smuggler's Hall is getting quite crowded. Orvis's Bargain. Give an enemy creature -1 and a friendly creature +1/+0 this turn. I don't think this card is that good. We have Calm, which does -4 for 0. This card gives +1. I don't know. I don't think it's that good. Then we have Illusory Defenses. It's a Prophecy card, and it summons a 0/5 wall in each lane with Guard, and you sacrifice them at the start of your turn. So if your opponent's attacking, you play it off a Prophecy, you get to absorb up to 10 damage, and then they die at the start of your turn. If you play it on your turn, it lasts all through your opponent's turn, and then they die at the start of your next turn. Very defensive card. I think it might see some play, though. We've got the Ambitious Hireling. 2 cost 1/1. Give another friendly creature power and health equal to this card's. So this card loves Rally. Whatever you rally this card up to, you'll give that buff, and this card still keeps its body. So if you rally this card up to a 3/3, you play it, you give another creature 3/3, and you still are a 3/3. So this card is awesome in Rally decks. I like it a lot, actually. Then we have Crassius's Favor. A 2-cost action, summon 2 1/1 grunts to a lane. So it's 2 tokens for 2. And then if you have played another card first with the plot effect, you gain 1 health for each friendly creature in that lane. So it gives token decks some healing. If you have a wide board, you get some healing. It's up to heal 4. So best case for this card, you summon 2 grunts and you heal for 4 for 2. That's a pretty good value if you can get it. We've got Gavel of the Ordinator. I think this is one of the more underrated cards from the set. I've been burned by this a couple times on the test server already. 2 cost +2, and the wielder is immune to damage this turn. So it's kind of like getting Ward, but not quite. Because if you put it on something like a Snowy Sabercat that can attack multiple times, or on, let's say, Child of First Scene, you don't ever take damage this turn. So it's a little bit different than a Ward. This is a very good card. I think it's something you're going to have to pay attention to, because you may think you have a safe big guard out, or just contesting for an even trade. Your opponent drops this down, they get +2 attack, and they get to not take damage, so they get to stay ahead on the board. And that's key in early game, especially for a lot of mid-range decks. So I think this is a very, very good card. Then we've got Stand Watch. 2-cost action, give a creature guard, and it draws a card, and it also has Prophecy. So I think it's a pretty decent card. If your opponent's attacking, you can give something on board guard to make them have to try and trade, and you also get a card for it. And it's probably worth it just for the card a lot of the time. We have some decks that play Spider Worker, which is a Prophecy 0/1 that lets you draw a card. So this gives something on the board guard, and you still get to draw a card, so it may see some play. We've talked about Vivek City Pilgrim before. 2/2 for Drain. For 2 is pretty decent, and a 5-cost 4/4 with Drain is okay. Warclaw Mercenary, a 2/2 for 2, again, is perfectly okay enough-ish. And then you give it Rally, and it becomes a pretty good 2-drop staple in Rally decks. And wouldn't be surprised if a lot of mid-range and or aggressive decks played this card as well. We've got Feasting Hunger, a 3-cost 3/3 with Guard, and you gain 1 health for each enemy creature. So if your opponent's playing tokens, they have a wide board, you can potentially heal for up to 8. This is, it doesn't have the Prophecy that Knight of the Hour has, but I think it's going to be a more consistent healer than Knight of the Hour is. Very good card. We've got the Lao Lao Oathman, which I think might be the best Oathman. It might just be the one that I've had the most success with so far, but I think this is a very, very good card. It is a 3-cost 2/2. So it's perfectly reasonable. Not perfectly reasonable. That's a lie. It's not perfectly reasonable. It's a little undercosted. But it has the summon effect. If you have an agility card in play, you gain 3 magicka. And if you have a strength card in play, you draw a card. So, if worst case scenario, the best you can do is have an agility card in play, this is a 0-cost 2/2, which is pretty darn good. If you happen to have them both in hand, it's a 0-cost 2/2 and draw a card, which is absolutely ridiculous. This is such a good card, especially in the early game if you can get this triggered from like your 1 and 2 drop, something like that. Honestly, at any point in the game, as long as you have a decent board, this card is basically played for free and can replace itself. I think it's a really, really good card. Then we've got the Cool Lawkeeper. 3 cost 1/6 with guard, which we already have one of those with pilfer move lanes, but pilfer move lanes isn't that important. The fact that this is a 3 cost 1/6 with rally, so it can maybe survive a couple turns, I think makes this fringe good enough to play. I don't know if it'll necessarily make the cut. It might sometimes just make the cut because rally decks want to run as much rally as possible. But I don't know. I think it'll remain to be seen. Now we've got Prison Ship, a 3 cost 0/5. Shackle an enemy creature, and that enemy creature stays shackled as long as this prison ship stays alive. So if you put something like Embassy Disguise on this card, it would require your opponent to answer it with an action in order to get rid of or to unshackle their creature. I think this is a very conditional card. I don't think it'll see much play, but maybe. If your opponent's going all in on one big creature, you'll make them answer this with something else. Who knows? Then we've got Grand Inquisitor, a 4 cost 2/3 with summon a creature with less power than Grand Inquisitor. So it's 4 cost, kill a creature with 1 or 0 power. Or for 8, you can get a 8 cost 5/6 and destroy a creature with 4 power or less. I don't think this is that good personally. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, but I don't see it. I don't see it being very useful. Then we've got the Moonmoth Castellan, a 4 cost 4/3 with guard, which is decent. Probably a little undercosted, but guard is a very good keyword. But it's decent for the cost, and has the plot effect, put a random guard in your hand. So guard Spellsword gets some more firepower. If you're behind, it can give you more guards to kind of try and stabilize your board position. I think it's a decent card. I don't think it's anything crazy, but I think it can be pretty good. A very good arena card because it generates more cards. We've already talked about the Moragtong Nightblade. Absolutely nuts card. I think it can do some crazy good things. Super excited to see what people do with it too. Then we've got Writ of Execution. You choose an enemy creature. At the start of your turn, you destroy it and you put a completed contract in hand. So it's something like a delayed Javelin. You still give your opponent one more turn of using that creature, but if you can shackle it or something like that, it won't be able to act, so it'll still be destroyed. And then you get a 0 cost completed contract, which 0 cost synergy, action synergy, give you extra magicka, so it's a decent card. I don't think a lot of decks will want to run it, but I'm sure there'll be a couple that find a way to fit this card in there. Then we have Balmora Captain, 5 cost 4/4 with Rally 2, and Rally 2 is a very good keyword, and your other rallies gain an extra +1/+1. So your regular rallies become Rally 2s, your Rally 2s become Rally 3s. If you get a couple of these guys on the board, you get like Rally 4s, it becomes crazy and snowbally. Ideally, you play this card and you already have at least 1 or 2 other rallies on board. They swing, his effect or his less than cost stats becomes worth it if you get to swing at least once right away. And then anything after this card becomes really, really good. Then we've got Dren Bodyguard, a 5 cost 5/5 with guard, Dark Elf. Pretty vanilla. It's an okay card. It's got the stats almost of a Hive Defender. Not as spread out though. Probably be pretty good in Arena. I don't think it'll really see much constructed play. Then we've already seen the Ebonheart Oracle, drain and double the amount of health you gain. Pretty sure it stacks as well, which is pretty cool. But not much else to say about this card besides I'm sure it'll see play in some combo decks, maybe some control decks. We've got the Quama Queen, 5 cost 4/4, and with plot, summon a 1/1 Quama Forager in each lane. Other friendly Quama have +1/+0. So your Hive Defenders are 4/6s, your Hive Warriors are 7/3s. These 2 guys are 2/1s that they summon. So if you trigger the plot effect, this card is perfectly worth it. If you don't trigger the plot effect, it only becomes worth it if you have other Quama on board. Then we've got Light of the 3, 5 cost 4/4, obviously not that great. Or 7 cost 4/4, give other friendly creatures in this lane +2/+2. So it's a Resolute Ally on steroids for 7. Is that going to be worth it? I'm not so sure. You kind of need a full lane for it to really be worth it, but I'm sure I'll be proven wrong. We've talked about Vivek before. Stays alive. You can't lose the game. Very, very good card. Then we have Umbra, a legendary weapon. 6 cost, +3/+5. So pretty good stats. Not quite as good as, let's say, Dwarven Armaments, but the effect is where it kind of goes one way or the other. At the start of your turn, the wielder battles an enemy creature of Umbra's choosing. So you don't choose which enemy creature you attack, which is a little unfortunate. But at the same time, if you picture Umbra on that intelligence card that gains ward at the end of your turn, at the start of your turn, it'll attack something. Hopefully it doesn't die. And at the end of your turn, it gets its ward back. So it kind of can almost be removal at the start of every turn. But at the same time, I think this effect, as much as it can be a strength, it can also be this card's biggest weakness. But obviously it feels good to roll it off of Merrick or something like that. Then we've got Shrine Guardian, an 8-cost, 8/8 guard Daedra, which is pretty good. It's actually pretty even. No, I don't want to say pretty good, but it's playable like that. And it has the ongoing effect. Whenever your opponent summons a creature, reduce its power to 0 until the start of your turn. So that means, as long as this card is alive on the board, you're not dying to Tazcad, you're not dying to Aspect of Hercene, you're not dying to any of those charged creatures. Because they're all going to be zeros and they won't be able to charge. So, pretty good card, and I'm sure if you play this at some point, you'll catch one of your opponents off guard. They'll try and charge, and their card will do nothing, and they'll be very upset. So I'm sure that'll happen. Then we've got Chodala's Treachery. 9-cost, destroy a creature. Obviously, that's pretty terrible. Javelin does it for 5 and has Prophecy. But it has the plot effect, steal the creature instead. So, as long as you play another card first, you could potentially steal up to 4 of your opponent's creatures off the board if you play 3 of these and Marak. So that's where this card's going to go from absolutely garbage, which is the regular effect, to pretty darn good if you can trigger the plot. I think it could be a very swingy card. But that's it for our Willpower talk through. We'll be going on to Agility next. Let me know what you guys think of the Willpower cards, which one's your favorite, which ones you're planning on using, and how. And with that, I will see you guys next time for our Agility review. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.